fair share, tier dues, some hybrid? Where are you with that?
We are in a tiered structure, and the thought process behind that, Frank, and the how we got to where we are today. When I started at the partnership about 8 years ago, it was more of a fair share model, and it was actually almost a pyramid model where it was the dues were this, but if you wanted to, based on your business size or your square footage or your number of rooms in a hotel, so it was a fair share, if you will, but it was different for every industry segment. So it was to use my term, it was a hot mess.
Yeah.
Right? It had very hard for staff to track, with different industries having different criteria of, again, square footage or number of seats in the restaurant or location. We had village locations where the prime resort core in Vail and Beaver Creek, and then we also had non-resort core rates. So we had different rates for different people and different rates for different industries, and it was like I said, it was a little bit of a mess. So we changed to what I would call a modified tiered dues structure at that point. We really simplified. We made it about the member and about what the benefits were at the different tiers, and then we layered on with that extra add-ons for events and for sponsorships and for one-off opportunities. And then more recently, we've moved away from some of those add-ons and those extra asks and those components, and we really enhanced our tiered dues structure to really try to incorporate as much as we could to have everything be within one ask. And our business community was asking for that. They were asking us, we're supportive, we appreciate you guys, we like what you do, but really don't like doing this multiple times and writing multiple checks for different things. Just put it all in one. And so we more recently did that to pretty positive feedback and results. Certainly takes less staff time that way. And when you structure it the right way and make it about the business and about the business community instead of about the chamber, I think you see really, really nice results there.
So it's a really big decision for an organization to switch from the old, tried and true method, even though it's leaving a lot of money on the table and it's really old school. Switching over to the tier dues can be quite a process. Did you guys just do that like a flip of the switch, or was it a couple year process?
Yeah, so we were on the modified tiered dues anyway, and we did a pretty comprehensive look. We looked at about 10 different chamber groups, some in the Mountain West, and then some more urban areas and beach resorts and other places that aren't as much like us, to really get an idea of what are the size of these groups and what are the benefits that they're offering and what did they see as they went through these changes. We found it to be, again, it's very time consuming and you need to put a lot of thought into it. It needs to be a thoughtful, strategic initiative, not something that you just do because you watched Frank and Chris on a video call and said, well, there's a lot of people doing this, or you go to IOM and hear about it, or hear yourself or some of the other experts talk about how good it is, and okay, we'll go change. It needs to be more thoughtful than that. But the benefit and the real fundamental, my view, the fundamental difference between the old fair share model and the tiered dues is that the fair share model is about the chamber, right? It's easy. Here's the way it is. It's always been. The tiered dues model is about the business community. It's about the members. It's about your constituents and your stakeholders, because you're giving them the ability to decide what's best for them and what level they would want to be engaged at. And that's a huge fundamental shift in thinking when you start looking at what you do and what your organization offers in the community, and it's not about you. It's about them. It's about your stakeholders. It's about your customers and your community. That's a pretty powerful shift in thinking that really starts to encompass and all of the way that everything that you do, from events to engagement to board service to the membership tiers and what things are appropriate within those. So that's a long answer to your question. No, you can't do it overnight, but less than what switching from one due structure to another, more the changing your entire way of thinking to say, how do we best serve the community? And when you start thinking that way, the floodgates open, and it really can change the dynamic.
And do you find that, you know, I've heard this discussion a lot of times where you talk about switching over to tiered dues, and the fact is you'll probably make more money as a chamber, as an organization, because you're going to have these higher levels where people that they were at a smaller level, but they could afford more, they wanted more. So you'll make more money, but that really isn't the reason to do it. The reason is to provide value.
Absolutely. And I think most people that I've talked to, and we saw the same thing, we saw an increase in dues revenue. We did see some people, but it takes a little time. People don't automatically bump up to that, and there's some adjustment period within that, but it does give people, it's because, again, as you said, it's about the value. They're paying for what they want. Not everybody wants the same thing. There's big businesses that might want small things, and there's small businesses that might want big things, and allowing them to self-select what works best for them, instead of you telling them, here's what it's going to be, is certainly, as we move forward, you look at what industry trends from Uber to Airbnb and others in this disruptive technology era, they're being successful because they're talking to the customers in the way the customer wants to be talked to. And I think that we, as a chamber industry, need to be doing the same thing. And I think tiered dues, if they're set up the right way with the right benefits at the right levels, will encourage people to bump up when you show that value.